Hello, my name is Adam Ching and I'm reporting on the cash conversion cycle for Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. First, let's start off by understanding what the cash conversion cycle is. It's defined as a measure of the length of time between a firm's purchase of inventory and the receipt of cash from accounts receivable. In order to calculate the cash conversion cycle, we need the inventory conversion period, receivables collection period, and payables deferral period. Next, let's discuss the average daily sales for Barnes & Nobles. The figures on this slide and the following slides are all in thousands. Inputs for annual sales are 5,121,804, and the cost of goods sold are 3,540,596. In order to calculate average daily sales, we take the annual sales and divide it by 365. When we do this, we get $14,032.34. For average daily purchases, we take cost of goods sold and divide that by 365. When done so, we get $9,700.26. What are Barnes & Noble's inventory conversion period, receivables collection period, and payables deferral period? In order to calculate this, we will need figures from their financial statements, including inventories, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. On the slide, you can see we take the average of each of these fields by taking the beginning and the ending and dividing them by 2. For inventory, we get an average inventory of 1,280,821. For average accounts receivable, we get 94,068, and average accounts payable, we get 789,134. In order to calculate ICP, we take average inventory divided by daily cost of goods sold. When done so, we get 132 days. For receivables collection period, we take average accounts receivable and divide that by daily sales. When done so, we get 6.7 days. And to get payables deferral period, we take average accounts payable and divide that by daily cost of goods sold. This comes out to nearly 77 days. What is Barnes & Noble's cash conversion cycle? Now that we've computed the inventory conversion period, receivables collection period, and payables deferral period, we can calculate cash conversion cycle. To do this, we add inventory conversion period and receivables collection period, and then subtract payables deferral period. This comes out to nearly 62 days. Next, we will be looking at Amazon's average daily sales. Their inputs are annual sales of 19,166,000 and cost of goods sold of 14,896,000. To calculate their average daily sales, we take annual sales divided by 365, which comes out to 52,509. Average daily purchases equals cost of goods sold over 365, which comes out to 40,810 and 96 cents. What are Amazon's inventory conversion period, receivables collection period, and payables deferral period? Just like Barnes & Noble's, we take their average inventory, accounts receivable, and accounts payable in order to calculate these formulas. Amazon has an average inventory of nearly 1.3 million, average accounts receivable of 766,000, and average accounts payable of nearly 3.2 million. To get inventory conversion period, we take the average inventory and divide it by daily cost of goods sold, which comes out to nearly 32 days. Receivables collection period is average accounts receivable divided by daily sales, which comes out to 14.59 days, and payables deferral period equals average accounts payable divided by daily cost of goods sold. This comes out to 78 days. Amazon's cash conversion cycle is calculated just like Barnes & Noble's. We take inventory conversion period, add that to receivables collection period, and then subtract payables deferral period. This comes out to negative 31.83 days. Comparing the cash conversion cycle for Barnes & Noble's and Amazon differed by about 94 days. Barnes & Noble's CCC is about 62 days, while Amazon's is about negative 32 days. Responsible factors for these differences include sales, accounts receivables, and accounts payables, inventory, and cost of goods sold. These factors make up inventory conversion period, receivables collection period, and payables deferral period. The factor that's the biggest contributor to the CCC discrepancy between the two companies is inventory conversion period. Barnes & Noble's has an ICP of 132 days, while Amazon's ICP is only 32 days. These differences are more directed to the nature of the business that each company is in. Since Barnes & Noble is mainly comprised of brick-and-mortar retail stores, they are required to be sufficiently stocked with inventory. Due to this, they are going to have a longer inventory conversion period than Amazon, who is solely internet-based and does not need inventory on hand in order to make a sale. Interpretation of these results. The cash conversion cycle of these two companies are quite different. On one hand, you have Barnes & Noble's, whose CCC is almost 62 days, while Amazon's is nearly negative 32 days. At first glance, it may seem like having a negative cash conversion cycle is incorrect, but what this essentially means is that Amazon doesn't pay its suppliers for the books that it buys until after payments has been received for selling them. Barnes & Noble, being more closely related to a traditional brick-and-mortar retailer, has a CCC of nearly 62 days. Logically, this makes sense since approximately 85% of its sales are generated from the traditional retail setting. Barnes & Noble purchases inventory and keeps it on hand in its traditional stores until a customer physically walks in and purchases it. Essentially, the 62-day cash cycle tells us that it takes Barnes & Noble 62 days for their cash to cycle from inventory and accounts payable through sales and accounts receivable and then back into more cash. That's the end. Thank you for listening to my presentation.